Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the latest episode of System Link, featuring, as always, my co-host, Mike Hazelton from the Xbox Guide. Mike, how are you doing on this jolly Wednesday evening?
Hey, yeah, good, thanks. Bit lighter out, so been enjoying that. And we had a great Xbox showcase, so I think we're all still pretty hyped from that. And
Yeah,
looking forward to watching some of that content again.
yeah, it was a banger. No, in no uncertain terms, it was something that I think really we went into it very excited, but also cautiously hopeful. I think, given their run of PR blunders and various things where in previous showcases perhaps the messaging hasn't been particularly clear or they've relied too heavily on CG trailers. I think they really addressed so much of that criticism in that showcase on Sunday, and we certainly had a lot to unpack. Big Daddy Smitherim, that is absolutely something I knew you would say at the start of this stream. Sun's still out, take your shirt off. That, unfortunately, is not the kind of hot tub stream we're running here at Burly Bird Media. You can obviously follow us on all of the socials. I thought I'd just do a quick advert now, just to segue from that. You can follow us on all the socials at Burly Bird Media, and we are, as always, live on a Wednesday with our joint podcast and gameplay stream. Tonight we're going to be playing some Rocket League, some just very chill, cozy vibes tonight after our lengthy unpack from the Xbox Showcase and everything Summer Games Fest that's been happening over the last few days. So I feel like we just need to dive in. You know what I mean? We need to just get cracking on this. So we've picked out a few games that they might be smaller titles or things maybe that weren't necessarily like, you know, huge reveals for us that are going to be part of a montage that we've cut together. We'll be talking over that, discussing our thoughts for each one. And then we picked out, I think it was 6 different titles from that showcase to do a bit of a longer deep dive. We'll have the trailers playing as well. We'll play them through with their actual audio as well. So we'll have a bit of a sort of almost live discussion and reaction to that. And then following that will be a little bit of a shout out. Our sort of, as we always do, our indie game shout out before then transitioning over to our stream for Rocket League. So let's just dive straight in. So kicking off our kind of, this was just kind of a quick fire highlight reel. We had a mixtape here from Annapurna, a publisher that I know you and I are both big fans of. This really surprised me in its visual style, that sort of stop motion look, and clearly such a step up, I think, in terms of the ambition of it from some of the previous titles we've seen. I was really impressed by the visual design of this. I thought this looked really strong.
Yeah, and they tend to back similar sort of games that are all very narrative focused, quite light on gameplay. They tend to be. This looks like the same sort of thing. I don't think we know too much about it, but yeah, the style is great, and I think the setting leans heavily into licensed music that came across in the trailer. So I think it will definitely appeal to quite a lot of. It will be one of those games that crosses boundaries from hardcore games will, because of the music as well, I think, and it'll be a nice one to have people watching you play. I think we had a look. I don't think there's co-op, although the trailer looks as though it would work quite well in co-op. But
yeah, it sort of implies it's going to be some kind of co-op experience, doesn't it? I think that was a bit. That was probably a little bit disappointing actually when I looked at this world. I thought, what a great concept for us to kind of like explore together, but no, very interesting. And I think, as always, Annapurna tend to make these sort of maybe slightly more experience style games, sort of less, like you say, emphasis on gameplay mechanics, more just exploring the world and taking in that story. Yeah, just a really interesting one. This, I think, for me, now coming up on screen, we've now got State of Decay 3. I think this was potentially the only real major down moment actually for me from that showcase. You and I talked about this at length when we did our initial viewing of the show. It's since been clarified that this was in fact in-engine footage. It wasn't a CG trailer.
Yeah,
We weren't
it
sure, were we?
did say in the video, we missed it at the time, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think when we watched it together, we missed that it was in engine, and it helps knowing that it's in engine. There's been a bit of controversy about the Gears trailer that we'll come on to later about that, but like it certainly looks a lot better visually than State of Decay 2, which you would expect.
Yeah.
I think it's also come out that they've had help from the coalition, among other teams, on State of Decay 3. So hopefully that will help. There's bits and pieces you can see that do appear to be like gameplay or evoking gameplay.
Just from the way the camera's positioned, I think as well. They show a few shots, don't they, where they like this. That sort of evokes a gameplay style view, doesn't it?
And that, we don't know much more about it other than it sounds like they're fixing the co-op issues that there were in State of Decay 2, which is a big thing for us. And I think if State of Decay 2 had proper co-op instead of the kind of buddy co-op, we would have played it a lot more. So
I agree.
I'm still looking forward to it.
Drop-in is great, but it's got to have some kind of, I think you should still have some kind of permanence or ownership over that world and that you're going into. You know, the idea of you just being a guest always seemed like it was kind of a bit kind of counter to what they were trying to make with those previous games. Certainly State of Decay 2, which was the big thing, was that it was co-op. That was the big addition. I know that they clarified in the Xbox Wire post that this is going to have a multiple ownership within their shared open world, co-op. And that's something I think that was sorely missing from the second game. So it's nice to have that clarification. But the problem I think fundamentally I have with this footage is that none of what we've just discussed was made clear in any way in this game, because they showed State of Decay 2 with multiple characters traveling and fighting zombies in their initial reveal. I just don't feel like there was anything tangible we learned really about State of Decay other than here it is again. Here's a sort of a weirdly vague look given the approach that Microsoft took with the rest of their showcase.
We didn't get a release date, which was a big downside, and it does look a bit grittier and I think a bit darker than the previous two, which I think is the right direction for it. But like you say, nothing concrete and no release date, so we don't know where it's at really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in a showcase that was so forthright and so open with a lot of these titles that we haven't seen for a long time, that was a bit of an odd one. And actually, just seeing this now, obviously that in our montage, when I saw that this was Rebellion, I was sort of like, I had this sort of really interesting cycle with this game because I went, well, I'm immediately in because I loved Sniper Elite. Sniper Elite 5 is a great game. Zombie Army Trilogy was silly but good fun. Strange Brigade, I actually think is a better game than it's given credit for. And I saw this sort of like really slightly bizarre, Atomfall, this alternate world kind of like blending of different styles, and it was clearly meant to be sort of a very unique concept. To then find out it was single player only, I thought, given the engine that it's running on, real trick missed with this. I think I was really gutted actually that this wasn't a co-op game, and I don't know whether that's. I've been thinking about it afterwards. Is it fair to judge a game? I think to judge the game itself based entirely on what you were thinking it would be. I don't know whether that's a fair criticism of it necessarily, because it's not that. I wouldn't look at Uncharted and go, "Oh man, that game is worse because it doesn't have co-op in it." It's just a strange thing. I don't know whether I'm sort of like undermining my own point, but yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same. I guess it depends how narratively strong it is, because it's never been the focus of like Sniper Elite. If it works graphically and is really immersive and has a great story, then I think single player can work. But if it's more like Sniper Elite, then I think the co-op kind of carries that game sometimes. So you have to wait and see.
No, I agree. I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Where I think, well, being Game Pass, I think really helps with that accessibility and sort of seeing whether it's worth that investment of time. I do like Rebellion as a dev. I think they're a really great team behind it. So, and is this Ara?
This is Age of Mythology.
Age of Mythology, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've already got Age of Empires on console. Obviously, it's been on PC forever, and it was just a nice sort of confirmation that we'll be getting this. I think September or
Yeah,
certainly this year on console as well, which may have been previously announced, but I wasn't aware of it, and I don't think we knew it was coming this soon. So it's like a fun take on Age of Empires with kind of god powers and stuff. So it'll definitely be something we check out, I think.
for sure. I actually think that's where this sits really nicely alongside something like Ara, which is I think Ara's then shooting for that slightly more grounded experience, and this is very much embracing, like you said, that sort of mythology and it being very sort of over the top. So I think it's a really nice thing to have on Game Pass as well. It's a good get for them this year. I I think although I would like with taking what we see now with Indie, I do think their choice to show an extended cutscene was an odd one, even though it looks great, very faithful to the older movies. I think to the original trilogy, not the two recent ones. It certainly looks faithful to that. Troy Baker's doing a great job playing Harrison Ford here. You know, he's got the voice down. But I really would have liked to have seen, I think actually it was something you said when we did our initial reaction, just longer than just snippets and flashes of gameplay. Give us, if you're going to do an extended sequence of anything, don't make it a story-heavy cutscene, which you kind of almost want to experience in the game itself. Make it gameplay like this. This stuff that we're seeing now, I would like just more of that. Show me a whole
Yeah.
sequence of working your way through this quarry or through those ruins. That's what I was looking for from this showcase, not sort of the quick fire montage style stuff. It could have just done with a bit more of a deep dive, because although the melee stuff looks really good, I have concerns about the shooting mechanics. I'm not 100% convinced that the FPS actual shooting looks good. It looked a little bit stiff in some parts. Don't know. That is an unproven one for us, I think, isn't it? We're not really 100% on it.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit too similar to the previous trailer, probably.
Yes.
It was a bit of a theme of this showcase that while it was great, we didn't get like extended gameplay of anything.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a missed opportunity.
However, one that I thought did exceptionally well in terms of showing off its improvements and its visual design was what we're seeing right now with Avowed. I think Obsidian have really leveraged Unreal Engine 5 and all of the upgrades with that. I think they've been working with the Coalition, I think, as well on this. This showed really well, and this was a great trailer.
Yeah, it's looking good. And the date of a date in November leaked, and then was removed. But we have to assume it's probably going to be November.
Yeah,
but it looks good. It looks ready, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, they said as well, I think in one of the, I can't remember whether it was the Xbox podcast deep dive or in a blog post, but they said they're in the polishing phase now. So the game's content complete, and I think what a great position to be in now in June to be polishing ready for what we now believe to be a November release.
Absolutely.
Just lovely art style. The presentation of this trailer also was really premium. You know, Obsidian yet again proving. I think they're right up there with the Coalition in terms of the value they bring to first party for Xbox, and that was definitely a highlight from the showcase. I'm glad you put Stalker 2 in here because I cannot wait for this game. Just I think atmospherically it's always been so interesting, and not just a run and gun shooter either. All the various gadgets and the radiation meters you have to consider. I do think this one is going to be really interesting. It gives me sort of like almost a combination of like Fear. It reminds me of the old Fear games, FEAR titles on PC, because just of the way that the combat and the AI seems to be presented, but obviously now packaged in a much more modern graphical design. Very cool.
It is very. The shooting is very similar to Fear. I would say it's got that kind of gritty weight to all the guns and the shooting. Like it's not ultra realistic or anything, but it's just it. I don't know how they do it, but it definitely feels a lot like Fear. And it looks really really good. And I don't think this is coming to PlayStation, not launch anyway. So this is for it to be on Game Pass. I mean, Microsoft's taken a bit of a risk on this, I guess, being a Ukrainian developer as well. So fair play, 'cause it looks like it's going to pay off. I'm sure it will do pretty well on Game Pass.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great choice for them to have on there, and something that's been anticipated for quite a long time now. We've known about this game, but also being a Game Pass title for a good long while now. So just great to see it being shown in this way. And this again, I think maybe to speak back to our point about indie, I think we were kind of looking for that kind of extended gameplay from that exactly the way that that was presented.
Yeah.
So one thing that really struck me with this, with the Shattered Space expansion reveal, was the variation in the visuals. I think Starfield in the base game is quite, in some ways, quite visually bland. I don't think it is, but there's a huge amount of variation in there. This really looked like they were trying to address that. At least for me, I think they did a really nice job of showing some different designs to their areas and it looking a bit more bespoke and a bit more unique, because I know so much of the game is procedurally generated, so it was just nice to see them really digging in on that sort of like handcrafted design in certain areas, especially this. Like, you look at a shot like that sort of color palette and that visual design just wasn't really present consistently enough in the base game. So
I think
just really nice to see.
that is the benefit of having the procedurally generated planets when they have like a premium expansion like this. I think if they just put a bit of effort into handcrafting something, it will really stand out. I think the procedurally generated stuff works pretty well most of the time.
Yeah.
But it definitely means that you can really kind of make a statement with something like this, and it definitely looks, like you say, completely different. And we also had mods have gone live with Starfield now, which is a big deal. Although there's some pushback on some of the premium items and stuff, but I think generally it's a good news story for Starfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, given how dense the end of this year is, I think it will sit in there quite nicely as something that people will pick up perhaps over the Christmas holidays. I think this would be something that I'd expect people to kind of get into towards the end of the year, and just really nice to see. Having Diablo be so heavily advertised, I know obviously they're now owned by, Blizzard is part of Xbox now, but there was that. I remember them talking about how the Game Pass release made Xbox the lead platform for this game. Something that had already sold very well and had been critically well received as well on other platforms, Xbox included. To have the Game Pass release have such a tangible moving the needle moment off the back of, I think, a lot of valid criticism around things like Hellblade and how it's perhaps underperformed despite being on Game Pass. I think Diablo has been a game that's really benefited from that inclusion, allowing them to have these seasonal updates really connect with people and offer meaningful updates and change within them. So
and I watched an interview with one of the developers, and she was saying that I think 2 million people have played Diablo 4 that had never played Diablo before, because of Game Pass, basically. Like me, I hadn't played Diablo, and that was the first time for me. So it's been really powerful, and I think will give them more confidence in an expansion like this, doing some good numbers. It'll be interesting to see how it gets on, for sure.
Yeah, and actually, I kind of tying in with the conversation we had about Black Ops and the implications of that being on Game Pass. You want to see better than ever player engagement, and those numbers go up relative to its profitability, because obviously they're going to cannibalize a lot of sales on Xbox particularly, which you'd expect. But if the player numbers go up and it sells well on other platforms still, it shows that there's more interest, more potential secondary spend. And I know Diablo has elements of that too. There has microtransactions in there. So it's such a great way, I think, of expanding the potential of that secondary spend from an audience that are clearly hungry for more.
It's a brilliant CG trailer as well. Like all of the Blizzard stuff. There was a World of Warcraft expansion in the showcase as well, which we haven't featured, but that had a similarly impressive trailer.
Always well produced, aren't they? They're sort of in terms of their quality. Something like this as well, which is the seasonal update, I think having a CG trailer like this serves that update really well. It makes it so clear that it's such a meaningful addition to the game, and because it's very tricky, I think, to show something like Diablo, to show like the story content of a new update outside of its, to just use its gameplay. I think it makes more sense for them to go outside of just the normal top-down gameplay view and do something that's a bit more bespoke and designed to tell that story to the audience. I mean, this looks fantastic, really grim and dark as well. It just really, really, really effective design on this, which was lovely to see. I wonder too, actually, if this is an indication that we might see a follow-up sooner than perhaps would have been expected before, because of that had the interest in these seasonal updates and the increased player counts now through Game Pass. I wonder if there might be a sort of we might see a Diablo 5 quicker than perhaps we would have otherwise.
Yeah, well, so that is actually a premium expansion like Starfield. So it's the same sort of approach where they're going to be getting revenue in from it. So I think it depends how it does. I think if it doesn't do very well, then they'd start looking at another game in a series. But if they're selling and people are still engaged with the content, like Destiny 2, which we talked about last week, I saw that they've announced that there's more Destiny 2 content coming, presumably because the expansion did so well.
Right.
I think that, like, why would you make Destiny 3 if you're still selling millions of the DLCs?
Yeah, there's we're in Rocket League season 15 for that reason. I think too, because there's such an obvious engagement and interest in what they're putting out, and it makes sense to just update. Well, if it isn't broken, or if it's something you could iterate on without having to go into production on a full sequel, you can maximize your profit, minimize your expenditure. It's a logical play. So they were kind of our main sort of smaller highlights from the showcase, in a showcase that was jam packed. There was it didn't really stop. It was like a freight train, just kind of kept going and going with those big reveals and stuff that had been, which we'll get to obviously in a bit, but we saw things that have been MIA for a good long while now. So that, I think, was its greatest success, is that they came out and say, no, these are the updates, which is exactly what I wanted going in, which is all these announced projects. I didn't need a huge number of new announcements. Give me tangibly clear gameplay from things we already know about. And I think Xbox did meet that expectation for sure.
Yeah, and I think there weren't many games that were featured where you think, why is this in the showcase? Normally you think there's like some sort of partnership that's gone on, so Xbox have featured them in the showcase in exchange for whatever marketing or Game Pass deal or something, and there wasn't much of that. Dragon Age being in there was maybe a bit weird because it's been featured by EA since and much more extensively, but there weren't many that stood out like that.
I wondered, actually, thinking about that, I wonder if that was maybe part of the fact that, with EA Play being part of Game Pass Ultimate, that because they had a partnership there already, maybe that was where to them at least, it seemed like a logical inclusion for them to follow up with, say, the gameplay deep dive. I think the weird part for me was I'd almost would have wanted the gameplay deep dive in the showcase.
That's always but Ubisoft do that as well, don't they? Yeah. They show like a CG trailer, a showcase, and then they have their own thing where they show the gameplay, which is a bit annoying for the platform holders, I think, but it's up to them, isn't it?
Especially if they're going to have to go to the trouble of having their own show. You could understand them wanting to maybe keep stuff back for their own thing, but it's almost like then don't mention it at all in PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get to it probably after we've watched these next videos, but there's been a lot of debate about whether there's any point in this Summer Game Fest. Summer Game Fest itself was pretty weak, very weak, I think. Like the Xbox Showcase was pretty much the only decent event that happened in terms of like quantity of announcements and quality of the videos. So stuff like that is just like the Ubisoft one is just almost why are they bothering?
I mean, so much of that, when you've gathered the world's press and you're showing a Rocksmith Plus update, I just think that so much of that could have been a website update or a blog post. A lot of that stuff was just seasonal updates for things that already existed. I think really and truly, like, Rare taking 1 minute of an Xbox showcase to show a little quick trailer for its new season is fine. I think when you sandwich that in between 8 or 9 brand new reveals or gameplay showcases of things we've only ever seen CG trailers for, when it was almost wall to wall, here is a For Honor season update, something from years ago, and you're including that in your Ubisoft Forward. It doesn't feel like a Ubisoft Forward. It feels like you're just covering updates of things we've already seen for years.
Well, because how many people like For Honor and Rocksmith that they would watch? They're generally different audiences, so you're not going to watch the whole thing because you want to see, I want to see what the new seasonal update for Honor is, and then I want to see what the Rocksmith thing is. If you're into those games, you'll follow the channels for those games, and you'll see that stuff when it gets posted, probably at exactly the same time as the Ubisoft Forward event. So It's weird. I've never particularly liked the Ubisoft ones. You end up watching them for the one like hero game that they feature, and then you have to watch all the Just Dance and trash that they put around it. But
Yeah, gotta love that live flash mob they like to open their shows with. So, going into our next segment now, we've picked out 6 titles that are our kind of deep dive titles we wanted to talk a bit further about, and ones that are either personally interesting to us and or they had something really interesting around them, given maybe the state of them in terms of them being a gameplay reveal after a long gap of not really seeing anything, or in the case of our first title, which was Black Ops, a game that obviously with its Game Pass release has now become, I think, a lot more interesting and accessible to a lot of people who perhaps would have been on the fence or not interested in spending 70 quid on it. I do maintain that I think this was a really well-cut trailer, and I'm
great musical choice as well.
Yeah.
I've since seen it on quite a few different places as a paid ad, which is nice.
Yeah,
nice and early to be getting that out.
And especially now that they're sort of tying that in with Xbox branding and Game Pass, etc. I was always so ready for them to move away from the Modern Warfare reboots. I actually don't think the second and third ones of that rebooted series did anything particularly better than the first. I think that first Modern Warfare reboot was the best one that they put out, and I don't know really particularly what the benefit was of having the second and third titles. Going back to Black Ops, for a lot of people, this is where like their love of zombies. The zombies mode started with the first Black Ops game, and that was where that mode was first introduced. And I think for a lot... Oh, no, it wasn't. No, fact check myself. It was World at War, wasn't it? I think it was the first... zombies title.
Which was still Treyarch, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So that series evolved then through into Black Ops and obviously into the subsequent titles. So I think for a lot of people, the Black Ops games have almost become like their own franchise within Call of Duty. I think there's a reason why they've been able to get away with calling this Black Ops 6 and not Black Ops something.
And I think they've generally been received the best consistently.
Yeah.
Of all the Call of Duty games, which is given Infinity Ward is a surprise, but they've done a great job with them and consistently high quality.
Yeah, and also they're campaigns that you typically care about as well. Like I remember playing a couple of the previous Black Ops games and really enjoying the story in a way that I hadn't particularly in some of the other Modern Warfare titles.
The United States.
Yeah,
yeah.
And this one being a real world setting that we all kind of lived through, or most of us lived through, will be a nice touch. And this is showing kind of the new movement that they've introduced. Which will be quite a big game changer, I think.
Yeah, and a really nice way of differentiating it from those previous rebooted titles as well, because the idea of you being able to sort of dive in any direction, the animation looks really well done as well, because I have found myself sometimes finding issues with the navigation in the environment. I think the way they're showing this here with the sort of the gamepad and they're showing the difference with it being on and off, I think is a really nice way of making that clear to people what the benefit will be. Just shows that they've really put some thought into this. And I think anything that justifies these yearly releases, Call of Duty is one of the only games besides sports titles that has a guaranteed October, November time you're going to be getting a Call of Duty game. So I think anything they can do to differentiate and justify them having that release cadence, I think is ultimately going to be a really good thing. It looks really smooth, and it's interesting too that they say in the trailer about how, once you've tried this, you might find it tricky to go back. Which, I mean, on the one hand, you could just dismiss a line like that as kind of, PR speak, much like Sarah Bond talking about how they're yet again working on next generation hardware, which we know. Yeah. But so on the one hand, that's very easily sort of just sort of put aside. But I do think it would be very we've seen that there's going to be an open beta. I think that's going to be very valuable for people to go hands on and get a good flavour of what it's actually going to feel like. I know I'm definitely going to try that out. It's available, I think, for Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. So
they've always pushed the movement. Or pushed the series a bit further, I think, in Black Ops than the other COD series. I wanted to ask, because I haven't played many of the recent ones. When they've introduced this movement, would we definitely see it in the next COD after this, or does it not necessarily work like that? It depends on the developer. So the next COD might be the static movement again.
Yeah, not necessarily at all. Yeah, depends on what they're working on. If this is something that, I think it has been responded if it gets a really strong response, and often you get the competitive players will be the ones that dictate whether it becomes an accepted part, or potentially if it gets adapted into Warzone. If we see this movement and Warzone 2 gets updated with this movement, then I think that's when it becomes more pervasive within the series, and we see it basically become the standard. The esports players and the sort of very hardcore community of people that I know, that they get a lot of streamers and testers coming in to QA the game. I think if they give it the thumbs up and a seal of approval, then we are likely to see it re-emerge in future titles. So, yeah, no, I was really pleasantly surprised with this, and I certainly think Game Pass has helped pique my interest, because I'd already decided I wasn't ready to spend 70 quid on this year. I hope that the gambit pays off. I hope we see some, for Microsoft's sake and for their vision with Game Pass, I hope we see the subscriber count go up. I think I hope the revenue is really good from this too, just purely from their business side of things. I hope it justifies their approach, and the fact that they're really, they are all in on their differentiator, which is Game Pass for their platform. So I'm hoping this moves the needle, because, if the alternative happens, that'll be where I'd have some concerns about the viability of it moving forward. Microsoft certainly have enough cash to absorb any losses at this stage, but it would potentially necessitate a change in strategy that's quite significant if this didn't work out for them.
I've seen quite a lot of Xbox players pre-ordering the special edition or the deluxe edition or whatever it is already. I think because it's £30 for Game Pass, people to kind of upgrade to the deluxe edition, which is a really good way of monetizing the Game Pass audience in a reasonable way that isn't too like pay £10 to play early for 7 days. It's I mean, I know the digital deluxe editions are all a bit irrelevant, but there's some decent stuff in there that I think they'll get a good number of people doing it.
Yeah, and actually, when you then look at that, where if you say you've got someone subscribing to Game Pass for 6 months and they've done the digital upgrade, well, there's your 70 quid right there. If it's not just about getting the new subs in, it's about retaining the ones you got, and that's something that I think is going to be really important for them moving forward. It showed well. I think it looks like a feature complete package. We've waxed lyrical in the past about how Halo got this so wrong with Infinite. Releasing it piecemeal and bit by bit, and cancelling stuff that they promised was going to be in there, like split screen. Call of Duty games always come out the gate really, with stable servers and feature complete, really feature-ish. I think they do justify their price tag, but now opening this up on Xbox and giving people the option of an easier access point, it doesn't take anything away. This game's still going to be full price anywhere else, and it's still going to sell like hotcakes. If they can then attract more Game Pass subscribers, and there's enough in there regularly to keep them hooked, it's a logical bet. It opens it up. It's a choice. It's about choice. And I've really bought into that with Xbox. I really like that concept, is that you get to just choose which ones you want to invest in and which games you're happy to just take a risk on just by subbing. And just trying to.
And that's what Phil said. That was his he always does a bit of a, I don't know,
spiel.
a positive spiel about how he loves everyone. And he did it for that. There was in the IGN, I think it was in the IGN interview, he was saying, he mentioned it a bit in the showcase, how it's nice that everyone's getting the same version of COD. And then in the IGN interview, he kind of doubled down and was like, we don't want to do he said slimy platform things, which I read as a dig at Sony for having the, holding things back from Xbox don't get certain things in COD that PlayStation get.
Yeah.
But then later in the interview, he said, fair enough. He said, but we started it with Xbox had that relationship with Activision first and had stuff locked down in COD, and he admitted that. So I think it was a fair statement that he made. But ultimately, the point now that everyone across all platforms that get the game will have the same experience is a really strong message.
Yeah, and it's really clean too, because there wasn't anything tied in with that announcement and the way he was talking about it that related to, say, like a different tier of Game Pass, or them having an Activision bolt-on or something to it. It was very, very cleanly put out there, which is just, if you have Game Pass, the game is there for you. I think actually this sequence here where they talk about the lack of button presses to do those things, to be able to do a slide crouch, do something low, vault over something high, and then jump up as well without having to do any button press, you're just moving. I think is a really smart way of making it feel different, making it feel slick. You just get to do the things that the game hopefully is, doesn't do anything wonky. It actually does the things that you want it to do, and we'll only know that really for sure when we can get our hands on.
Yeah, well, I was thinking the kind of extreme movement could make the multiplayer a bit of a shit show with people kind of going all over the place. But obviously, if they've actually limited the number of button presses that people will have to make, there's only going to be so much that you can physically do because it's all going to be context sensitive, as opposed to now where you can like press loads of different buttons at the same time and bunny hop and go prone and get up and crouch, and it seems as though
that bit, doesn't
with
it?
this, I think it might do, which will be a real positive for me anyway, as somebody who hates that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm saying here, I can't stand it, and I love it. Love it when any game does either de-scoping, if people are sniping and they get shot, they de-scope, or they do the jump restriction. Call of Duty introduced that a few games ago, where you jump once, and if you jump again immediately, it does like a really pathetic little piddler of a jump.
Oh yeah, cool.
And I love that stuff. I think it's always a great addition to anything like that, where they almost make it like a stamina thing. You've done one big jump and you can't then just immediately spam it, and you just do tiny little jumps that don't affect anyone's ability to hit you. So it's a nice feature. Now moving on to my game of the showcase, my game of this whole period right now, which is the absolutely stunning South of Midnight. This trailer blew my biscuits off a little bit in this showcase. They've made it a bit of a thing, sort of compulsion sneaking their logo into I bet it was on the back of a car bumper there. It was on the sign in the shack in that the in-engine trailer that they first revealed. This guy, now confirmed, his name is Catfish. Just absolutely brilliant with the southern accent and their relationship together. I think this is a wonderful little game, just a really unique world. The fact that I did not expect them to go from this into a extended gameplay segment, I think this is perhaps also why this game really stood out for me in the showcase, because they were just so unabashed with it. They just went, no, this is it. We're going to show you what this game is. Without what didn't seem like too many smoke and mirrors. It just looked like a kind of, here's a really nice vertical slice of this.
That's what worries me a bit about like State of Decay 3. This seems like such an intelligently put together trailer that is showing you exactly what the game's going to be. It's giving you a bit of the story, the characters. State of Decay 3, although it's not going to have the protagonist, it's not that sort of game, but we didn't really get anything meaningful from that. Whereas we've got so much from this extended gameplay, like you say. It looks fantastic. Great voice acting. Looks really polished already. Combat, it's hard to read too much into that at the moment, but a nice little kind of boss section that gets introduced.
And the idea that these abilities, it looked like you were using the same things as weapons as you are for traversal. Like that sort of grapple hook style, that kind of magic moment. That seemed to be similarly in tune with what you then do in this sequence in the fight. So just nice to have them have sort of multi-purpose abilities. This actually,
I feel like they probably shortened this for the purpose of the showcase. I think
in terms of the enemy health potentially.
Yeah, or just you go to the trouble of blocking off the area. I think this sort of fight would probably take a bit longer, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but looks good.
Reminded me of God of War's combat. That sort of very, you're watching the pattern of the enemy. You're mashing away, lowering that health bar. Definitely evoked that kind of very fast-paced third-person combat that God of War is so good at. But I really love that sort of slightly. It almost looks stop motion, doesn't it? The way she's moving.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for. I like also I've always liked games that have done this. When you defeat enemies, it kind of beautifies the world, or you get flowers growing back and stuff, and areas you haven't done are all horrible and grimy, and I think it looks really nice.
This sequence as well, I think this was just enough, because the cutscene at the beginning is almost a minute long, and then to get sort of another sort of minute and a half or so of meaningful gameplay to then bookend it with another cutscene, just great. And also confirmed to be 2025. We know now. We don't know, obviously, it's specific release date, but we know that is going to be on the calendar for next year. And alongside the fact that we know that Doom and Fable are both coming next year as well, Game Pass Day 1, that's looking pretty healthy already from a first party perspective.
Yeah, just spread them out, please.
Please, my God, yeah, just at the end of this year. Avowed, Ara, Age of Mythology, Starfield's expansion, Call of Duty, Towerborn. There's a lot cooking for the end of 2024. So, yeah, this was a delight, and I probably now, I think, my most anticipated game in a showcase of some great games too. This very much was top of the list for me, for sure.
Yeah, it was in my top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one that I didn't actually expect to see quite in so much detail that we saw was Perfect Dark. Having this be again such a meaningful gameplay demo. This actually was one of the longer demos of the whole showcase, actually, if you were just going to take it just from gameplay itself. You think Fable didn't have a huge amount of actual extended gameplay in it, Indie didn't. South of Midnight obviously was only about 3.5 minutes long total. This, aside from this opening cutscene, pretty much was all gameplay. It's just been dark for so long. We just haven't seen anything, not even a hint as to what this game was going to look or play like. I actually think while the actual open combat looks fine, I think it doesn't look sort of particularly remarkable. I really liked this stuff early on. The using your gadgets, a bit more sneaky. The fact that you've got an option of doing this, I think, is really nice. It differentiates it. Again, I think that's so important when you've got so many. It's a very crowded space in the FPS market. So to have something like this, where you're using gadgets, you're kind of living that spy role play kind of experience, I think is a really neat approach that they've taken here.
What readings are you getting?
Yeah, I'm definitely in the minority because I am disappointed it's not more like the original Perfect Dark or the original the first two, just more of an arcade FPS with light spy elements. It's obviously dialing heavily into the spy stuff, which is, I think, will probably do better. To be fair, it's just me as somebody who liked the original game. It's kind of Perfect Dark in the fact that you're playing as Joanna Dark, and there's nothing else has come across, but just one of those things. It certainly looks brilliant. The traversal, the kind of open map design, shooting and combat, not quite sure on yet, but we'll see how that looked in more gameplay. But it's a bit slightly contrived gameplay, which I'm always a bit unsure about. It's obviously gameplay, but some of the stuff where it slows down and things, you feel like they've embellished the gameplay footage slightly.
Is that an ability, or are we seeing that sort of for the purpose of the demo kind of thing? I do think the sort of those lock-on headshots are a nice way of sort of giving you that kind of spy feel. You see that sort of towards the end of this sequence where in the melee stuff's the strongest, I think, for me. But that lock-on shooting stuff, while it sort of looks good, I'm hoping that it doesn't feel too jarring when you play it, that it has a sort of, it does look a little bit sort of, it lacks a smoothness to it, which again is probably still quite early.
This is one of those that, although we're getting some extended gameplay, which like we said, we didn't really get with Indie, you also just want to see someone making like missing shots and stuff.
Yes.
It's a bit too perfect.
I hope you're ready.
It's not representative of what the actual experience is going to be like. But,
yeah.
I noticed just watching it this time that Crystal Dynamics actually had their logo at the start, which was quite big. Shows the kind of heavy lifting that's going on probably from them.
Yeah, and how important it is for the initiative, given the issues they've had getting this thing off the ground, for them to have that. Well, not just support, but support from the right studio. Crystal Dynamics are a very talented team, so that's a great way for them to leverage their expertise.
We feel like that's going to be 26.
I do. I really don't think this is next year. I think it'll be early 26.
It doesn't look ready.
No, I don't think so. I think it's 26. I think it could potentially be one of the last titles from this gen if the rumors about Xbox trying to get ahead of PlayStation turn out to be true. I think I I think the melee combat's really strong in this. I really like those sort of takedowns that you see her doing. It's as slick as the lock-on shooting stuff looks. I hope it doesn't feel too heavily sort of taken out of your hands. I want it to feel... I think given the fact that you're sort of encouraged to be skillful with your gadgets, I hope the shooting has a similar requirement of skill for this, and it doesn't sort of... It doesn't do what Splinter Cell Conviction did, which is the weakest part of that game for me, which was the tag and execute feature that they added. Yes, it looks cool, and you might feel more like an action hero, but I think it does take something away from you making a skilled choice, potentially.
Well, this is it. It's Perfect Dark is supposed to be like a spiritual successor to GoldenEye, basically. It isn't supposed to be Splinter Cell. So, although I can live with there being the spy gadgets and stuff in there, I would certainly like... I think they've said that you're going to have the choice of how you approach each mission.
Yeah.
The shooting side needs to be really strong. You need to be able
viable.
to, if you want, you need to be able to go in with an assault rifle and
absolutely
and play it like that.
Yeah.
And I'll be disappointed if it is you have a silenced pistol, that's the gun that you have in the game, and you do lock on headshots, like you say.
Because Perfect Dark in the original, you could absolutely, even in Perfect Dark Zero,
Oh yeah,
you could,
it was.
if you wanted to
It
go
was
guns
just
blazing,
GoldenEye,
you could.
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think maybe because I don't have a particular affinity for this series, I don't have a history with Perfect Dark particularly. Perfect Dark Zero wasn't one of my launch titles for 360. I never actually owned the original game. I bought it subsequent to originally having my N64. So actually just this being this sort of its own thing, for me as someone that doesn't have the history with it, is actually why I think I probably like it more. I've kind of taken it at face value of what they've shown here. I can understand completely though that you might get some people that look at it and sort of want it to evoke more of what the original games were.
I don't think there'll be many of us. I think it would be hard now because there's been such a gap between an FPS that plays like that. Because we had Time Splitters that was kind of again a sort of a GoldenEye spiritual successor. We haven't had a Time Splitters game for a long time, and I think it would be hard for a team to recreate how those games felt. And we're obviously not going to get one now. So I can see what they've done. And there's not a massive market for those sort of arcade FPSs with a campaign anymore. It's kind of going in a different direction. So I was also disappointed. Again, Perfect Dark's legacy was co-op and competitive multiplayer that we're not getting in this. So yeah, that's a shame for me personally.
Just given its identity. I agree with you on that. I think that's the part where, even as someone who doesn't have that connection to the series, I can recognise that definitely multiplayer was a big part of its legacy. To not have that in there is a bigger mission, I think, and they're gonna get some pushback on that, I think, from people from the hardcore fans that were really hoping to see that from this game.
Well, how long does it take to make a single player FPS? This shouldn't take
longer than we think, which is where longer than we think, which is where the dynamics coming in is very, very important.
Yeah, you look at Call of Duty. Every year they hit that deadline, and I know they've got the engine and all the groundwork in place, but there would have been stuff they could have done with Perfect Dark to build on an existing engine or whatever. Take something 343 have done, or just build on something. Save yourself a bit of time rather than trying to do something from the ground up. But I don't want to take away from it. It does look really good. It's just there's a few elements of it where I'm probably just not quite as enthusiastic about it as some.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, I mean, something we can certainly agree on, though, in terms of our enthusiasm and response to it, was that Fable trailer. I thought Fable had an outstanding showing at this showcase. Definitely in our top 3 as well, wasn't it? This title.
Again, similar to the last trailer, but we definitely got a bit more gameplay in this one.
Yes, yeah, and actually in a little bit more variation too in the environments and the nature. I think the story was clearer in this one too. The way the characters were presented.
There he is.
Richard Ayoade being this giant and you sort of dodging his swinging hands didn't really give me a flavour of the game, I don't think, particularly. This did. This, because you saw like a town, you saw the main hero interacting with other characters within that. graphically, I mean, I know it's coming from Playground Games who make Horizon, but this is an absolute stunner. It's looking very polished, and actually, I feel confident they could hit 25. I think late 2025. I think it would be a very reasonable release for this game. I can see South of Midnight coming in September or the summer, and then Fable to end the year. I think this could be very much their sort of big November release.
Yeah. You said this while we were watching it as well. That they've modernised the comedy compared to the original Fables. Like the original Fables, all the voice actors were like kind of authentic to the setting of the game, but humorous. Whereas these are basically modern. It's modern British voices in the game, as opposed to like medieval people doing medieval British accents, like having Super Hands from Peep Show, and just the people that you can hear in the background conversations. They're just that kind of thing is not befitting the medieval setting, but it really works, and the style of the comedy that is coming across is a departure from what Lionhead did, but I think it works really well. It's a nice direction to take it.
Yeah, and it totally fits in with its. We talk about Perfect Dark perhaps not doing a great job of honouring the legacy of its own franchise. This, I think, really. Just in the sense of it sort of felt very British. You know, it really lent in on that style and that sort of sense of humour, whilst, like you say, modernising it, making it feel like it was something contemporary and sort of. And actually, I think it's funnier. I think it was funnier as a result than a lot of the original games. I think a lot of the original games lent in on you doing silly emotes and farting. Was kind of the source of the humour for the original.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see whether the kind of good, evil stuff carries across, because from the protagonist in this, you suspect it might not so much, because she seems like on the good side. It's difficult to imagine her like kicking children and chickens and things like you could in the first game. And I don't have a problem with that. Because so many games have done that stuff since. You can like Mass Effect in particular, and have done it better in my opinion. So I think just play into the comedy, humorous world and characters, have almost quite a linear story where I don't think we need the good evil side of it. I just want like a really nice, tight narrative experience in this game world, which looks really visually stunning.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, and I think those expectations will be met. I think it's looking pretty polished and likely to have that approach where they're sort of letting that sort of very, very directed narrative play out whilst retaining the RPG elements and element of choice that you always traditionally have in a game like Fable. Just showed really well, and to get a 2025 release window on that was
got to be late 25, but
yeah, it's November. I'm calling it. Lock in the bet.
That would be my most anticipated game next year, I think. But it's funny that Playground Games couldn't do character models to save their lives in Forza, and then they've managed to produce something like this.
Yeah, I know. Especially with those
maybe
recognizable
Coalition
actors.
are doing it.
Yeah, the Coalition just getting their hands in everything. Which I mean, and that segues really nicely into Gears E-Day. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that represented our top three. We had Gears, Fable, South of Midnight, and different combinations of that as our top three titles.
I think so.
The Gears trailer, the fact that this is in-engine, yes, we knew that the Coalition were likely going to be, trying to really show off Unreal Engine 5, but my goodness, when it was then clarified after Jeff's slight gaffe that this was not CG and this was using in-engine assets, it's quite something. And I think actually then it's so smart. I was talking to my friend Johnny about the showcase, and he said that he has never been more interested in picking up a Gears of War game or getting PC Game Pass when this was announced, because he played the original trilogy on 360 and then didn't buy an Xbox One, didn't buy a Series X. He kind of went to PlayStation, as a lot of people did. But he said that the thing that would get him back into Gears of War, if it was a prequel, he didn't feel like he then had to catch up on anything else that came out subsequently. And the fact that it's E-Day, it's 10 years before Gears 1. it's a fantastic excuse for them to make something really modern, but go back to the basics and just to do a simple linear, not an open world, just a simple linear title. And that was, I think, a very, very smart decision by them. I think creatively, this is the best thing that Gears could be doing.
This is one of the best like showcase trailers that I've seen for. I don't know. I'm struggling to recall a better one, especially like it's not CG, but it's not gameplay. For it to have the impact that it did, because they got the at the start, you could tell they had the tones from Mad World, which was famously the original Gears trailer that kind of went viral when things didn't go viral back then. And to have that playing over this, and like old characters returning, and knowing it's a prequel, for it to be the one more thing as well right at the end of the showcase. People were expecting just Gears 6, whatever, more of the same, open world. That would be the safe bet, but they're going linear, they're going darker, more similar to the trilogy, like you said. It's just brilliant, and that absolutely will be a system seller. They'll get people from Xbox 360 back into the Xbox ecosystem.
100%. If they give this like a really solid 2-player co-op campaign, and they get that get the co-op in there, the competitive multiplayer and something like this, where they've already talked about how they want to leverage destruction. One of the big features of Unreal Engine 5 is its destructibility. So to have that, like you see it at the finals. The finals is the greatest example of that, and I think the best use of that tech so far that we've seen in a tangible finished product, not just a tech demo. This is going to, I agree. I think this is going to be a system seller. I think it's going to shift subs. It's going to get people back into the hardware. It's the game that they need to be putting out. I feel like Coalition are a great dev, but I think we see this 26. I don't think we see this next year. I think we get a really nice gameplay blowout next year. We get to see it running. Gears always historically have done really good gameplay trailers and demos in games from the past. So I think we see it in a really meaningful way next year with an early 2026 release.
Yeah, if I was Phil Spencer, this needs to be as close to perfect as they can get it for it to have the impact it should have. And Microsoft have dropped the ball on this so many times. The Coalition, to be fair, haven't really dropped the ball, but almost every other team other than Playground that have had the chance have fucked up when it's been, we need this to be a system seller. They've not produced, so the pressure will be on. But I think it being linear is exactly what it needs to attract the previous players of Gears. Doing an open world Gears, like doing an open world Halo, is not what Halo Infinite needed to be to get the people back that played the first Halos. They should have just looked at what worked and done it better, which is what they're doing with this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just creatively, it's the right direction to take this series. And they've also acknowledged since then, there was I saw an executive from the Coalition talking about how they are not abandoning the story that's been left in Gears 5. They are planning to continue that. So there's a future title there. Gears 6 potentially still to be explored, but with this new leadership, Rod Ferguson left, is now working on Diablo. With this new leadership now wanting to put their own, Gears 5 was very much a holdover from the previous leadership at the Coalition. They've now got the new developers that are working on it within that studio. That team has become indispensable for Xbox. I put the Coalition up there with Naughty Dog in terms of their importance within their respective organizations to their companies as a first party studio. I think because like Naughty Dog lead on tech, they lead on narrative, and they lead on design for PlayStation. And I arguably would think that tech, narrative, and design are three things that the Coalition do particularly well.
They should absolutely be staffing them up while trying to retain that the excellence and the passion that they obviously have. And not to say that Gears 5 was critically really well received and is a great game. And like you say, I would hope, as well as retaining like the story elements of Gears 5, they also retain the gameplay style, because I think it would be weird for Gears 6 to then go darker and linear. They could almost, especially if they staffed up, they could have the kind of prequel games that are in this linear style, and then have sequel games that are in the more open style, and do them like every 2 years.
Yeah, totally. get a multi-team, much like Obsidian, get them staffed up and multi-team, and if they're already supporting with things like Avowed and they're supporting State of Decay, they've become, they are not a studio on the bubble. They are a fundamental pillar of Xbox first party.
It's crazy when you think about it. How many of the other Xbox teams could you imagine have the time or the ability to like be seconded? I don't know, probably not seconded, but devoting their time to helping other teams to the extent that I'm sure they all talk to each other, but to the extent that people are saying the coalition are helping with State of Decay or something.
They're so
that must be quite a
significant,
significant resource that's going across there. You just couldn't see. Well, you don't hear 343 helping with anything.
No, no, and that's the thing too. Is you look at the importance within their, not just for their release slate, but how they're affecting the workflow of other studios and how the benefits they're bringing to that. It's if Unreal is going to be seeing so many Xbox first party games running on Unreal now, if that's going to be their big push, and I know that Sony have the partnership with them. I don't know whether that's part of it too, is that Microsoft are trying to move away from having more bespoke engines and just trying to do the thing that, what's the most accessible, what's cutting edge, what's going to scale to multi-platform as well. Let's, look beyond just the Xbox and PC strategy. We've seen a lot of their games, that the first batch, and I imagine there's going to be more in the future that we see release on PlayStation and Switch. So having an engine that scales really nicely to those platforms and a team that has inbuilt expertise that's already helping out your other studios with that, it's just a very smart play all around. So
I want to put you on the spot based on that.
Yeah.
We've got, I think, we just got Doom left to watch, have we?
That's
I think. So Doom has been confirmed as PS5.
Yes.
Day one release, which is, I think, everyone kind of expected. Other than Doom, what is the next game that's going to go to PS5?
Ooh. We're sneaking some more bets. We're still hungry after our bets and dreams showcase. Hungry for more bets. I think it will be a title that's already out. I don't think it's going to be any of the new stuff, apart from obviously, like you said, with Doom. But then I feel like that did make sense for that to be multi-platform. Just trying to think what's currently in the library. I think
Starfield is the logical one, because it's going to have had this expansion. Once the expansion comes out and has had a bit of time, I think it would make sense.
Yeah, I think given Hellblade's history as a multi-platform title, I would put Hellblade as being more likely than Starfield. Particularly if the engagement has been quite soft as well. The Game Pass hasn't worked for it. Big Manny, sorry I'm late, but Doom, I'm so excited for this. Yeah, we'll be getting into this trailer in a moment. This
just looks incredible. When I watched it the first time, so I'm not a huge Doom fan, because I think you need to generally play them on PC, and I've only lightly played the console versions. But like the setting that they've done with this, the guns, the skull crunching gun that fires the bones at people, the chainsaw shield, just it looks incredible. The way they've adapted it to this medieval setting.
Yeah, and having mounts and like giant behemoths in here, like it's such a cool evolution of that series. I think that chainsaw shield also then tying that to traversal as well, having it be like where you can do like a leap forward, or you can throw it and have it come back. All of that stuff I think was really well done in this. I think just going back to our point about multi-platform, I think we're more likely to see something like Hellblade, which, like Doom, has a history of being multi-platform, than we would Starfield. I think in that order. I think certainly has everything's on the table. There's no line, as Phil said. There's nothing is off limits. But I think you let, at least for the next 12 months, you let that Starfield expansion, sell and play out on Xbox, and that gives it then a 2-year exclusivity on that platform before we even consider it for PlayStation. I could imagine them, one scenario, that when the next gen Xbox is being released, that they then release Starfield on PS5 as a cross-gen release, potentially, with whatever they have cooking next, as a way of sort of almost getting people. It'd be like them leveraging and using an old title to then sell more of their new hardware, because people obviously then will be like, well, where did this come from? Oh, this is from Xbox, or what they got going on, Game Pass, etc. So I think there's definitely room for that. But you're right, yeah, just looking at this trailer, the variation in the environments I think is really cool. The fact that they've lightened things up a bit is actually really great. It really makes all of the gory sort of executions and the weaponry really pop. This looks ready. I think this is going to be early 25. I think this is...
Yeah, this could be like March.
Yeah.
What else? South of Midnight.
And Fable. I think it's in that order. I think it's Doom in March. I think South of Midnight is a summer title. I think we could see that in July or September. September actually feels good for that. And then Fable in November, I think, would be the cadence for that.
The more I watch of this, the better it looks, and I think it's if not in my top 3, it's really close.
Sure.
I'm really looking forward to it, and I think fair play to them for putting PlayStation in this trailer, because before we've had just Xbox PC in the trailer, and then there's been like a sneaky little bit in the press release saying it's coming to other platforms. So I think it was good to get that. Get that addressed up front.
Yeah, they were explicit with it, and I think it's just showing, isn't it, how I know this potentially did leak, didn't it, prior to the showcase, but it didn't take anything away. That leak and of that title didn't take anything away from this reveal. This was so well put together.
When people were wondering, like, is there going to be shooting because it's medieval setting, and obviously there's shooting. I think they've just nailed it. They know the IP so well that you can just tell they love what they're working with, and are really passionate about it, which always helps.
Yeah, and actually, even just looking at some of the weapon design, it has that sort of medieval feel. Having the shield sort of makes you feel like a berserker. You know, that sort of idea, I think, really fits within that world, because it's given it an almost sort of like industrial. They look a bit sort of like old-fashioned, but yet it's still monsters and alien-looking creatures.
Yeah,
and they've kept the aesthetic really nicely. Just what a great evolution for this series. And it makes sense for it to be multi-platform. I really do believe that. I think it's if you got id Software making a new IP, that's what you'd expect to be Xbox and PC. You get them making Doom, which is what they want to make. You give them the chance to do that. You let them staff up, and then it leads to something like this sort of really nice, fun iteration on what they've done previously. So wanted to also give our sort of indie shout out to a title that we're actually going to be streaming next Wednesday on System Link. Big Manny coming in. Based on how the last Doom ended, I assume this will be a prequel of some kind. Yeah, I actually don't know where this takes place narratively, but like you say, given the setting, it does make sense for it to be set prior to the most recent 2 games. So no some potential clarification needed there. But looking ahead to next week's System Link, we're going to be streaming what will be at the time the newly released Still Wakes the Deep, which is a Game Pass release and a sort of slow burn horror title from the Chinese room. I read a very enthusiastic preview on Eurogamer, who absolutely were blown away by it. I'm ready to shit in my nicks, you know what I mean? I'm ready to be nervous as hell, but it looks unbelievable,
so
doesn't it?
Yeah. And I've not heard many, like, I've seen a few publications talking about it, but I've not heard many people like talking about this. No. Considering it's coming out on Game Pass next week.
Yeah, and actually, I remember the initial trailer didn't particularly, like, it was just lots of shots of an oil rig. There was none of this. There was no sort of first-person view or any sort of wackiness going on. It was very vague.
The last trailer was brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when I think it was maybe Game Awards. But yeah, the previous one, not so much. But this, I love this sort of immersive first-person horror experience, especially if... For me, my horror games, I like to not be that in control of what's going on.
Sure.
I don't want it to be down to my skill, particularly that I've died. I like it to be, almost on rails, but you just enjoy the narrative, enjoy being immersed in that character. And I don't know to what extent you have the ability to avoid the whatever it is on the oil rig, but it just the way they've played the setting, which is already, as the Eurogamer article was saying, it's worth a read if you get the chance, is already quite a frightening setting, like a storm on an oil rig, and then you've got this weird, I don't know if it's supernatural. I don't think they said anything about you see a bit of it in the trailer, that's going on the oil rig, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's uncomfortable enough of a premise, even without all that stuff layered on top, I think, as well, which is really cool. This kind of in some ways I think quite similar to Hellblade. It's sort of shooting for more of an experience than anything else, but I do think a big point of differentiation from something like Hellblade is it looks like there's a bit more interactivity mechanically with the world. It seems like you're doing more in that world rather than just traveling through it. And I think if they can nail the atmosphere, which again, this is something where I would be very interested to play this, I think, live on stream. I mean, us doing this together, I think it'd be quite fun. And that will be something to look forward to for next week. It will be part of System Link's next Wednesday at the usual time, 9 o'clock. So yeah, that kind of wraps it up, I think, for our sort of thoughts from the Xbox showcase. One of, if not Xbox's strongest showings, I think, ever. Certainly for the last two console generations.
Yeah, for a non-hardware, yeah, it's not a new console, which you'd expect to have this sort of like imagine if your console launched with this lineup, you'd have a great start. But yeah, really strong. And Phil mentioned a couple of stats. I don't know if it was in the showcase or in his IGN interview, but they had Game Pass has had double-digit growth apparently, which is not. You know, we were told it was static, and they've had more console players than they've ever had before, or they've currently got more console players than they ever had before,
across Xbox One and current gen, right? Those numbers are up.
Given the 360 base, obviously a hell of a lot of people still on Xbox One, so there's a real opportunity for something like Fable to kind of move people across.
Give people those reasons to make the upgrade. You know? And then I do think actually something like Call of Duty, if people are still playing on Xbox One but they know they can get it with Game Pass, you create some kind of bundle, Series S or X bundle with that. Like we discussed before, what a great way of getting people to make the jump.
This was the one weak point in the show, was the hardware that was announced. It was expensive, it was fairly pointless, it wasn't what any of us hoped. Like I didn't really want to see the handheld, but I wanted to see like a cheap box that was aggressive and was going to get people over from Xbox One. But the pricing's way too high. I know things are expensive at the moment, but I don't know. I think they should have been aggressive. They should have put something out there that was, they were losing quite a lot of money on for the sake of trying to compete. Yeah,
big missed opportunity if they don't then get something then for this Christmas, branded with Black Ops 6 and tied to Game Pass. It'd be a real wasted chance for them to really capture some market share or even just some conversation about it. Certainly for parents looking to buy stuff for Christmas, and if they can say, well, I don't have to spend 70 quid on Call of Duty, I can get a year's Game Pass with an S. That's a great way of selling that package. So that will kind of wrap it up for our podcast segment of tonight's System Link. We'll be back very shortly with some cozy, jolly vibes, playing some Rocket League tonight, which is our plan, just to kind of ease in, just some jolly vibes. We had a pretty good... Last time we played Rocket League, I think we had... It probably wasn't on stream, but I think we had a really good session on it.
Yeah, we did. So this will be bad.
This will be bad, yeah. If we're going to follow the trend, this is going to go right downhill. As always, Mike, thank you so much for joining me, ever the loyal co-host here on System Link. Thank you so much for jumping in, folks. We'll be back very shortly with some Rocket League. So we'll see you next time for more discussion on System Link, and we'll be back very shortly with Rocket League. And we are back. Good evening again, everyone. Back for some Rocket League. Just saw a Big Manny. Just saw you in the chat there. Just saying, you know, yeah, love it when you two play that. Yeah, it's our sort of, it's our cozy and easy win. This game. This has been a stalwart in our gaming platters for so long now. It's an essential game. We just know it's so easy, even with a break. We rarely had breaks from it, but even with time off, so easy to jump back in and just pick up and play again. So this will certainly be for the foreseeable. Still in the rotation.
This and the finals are our mainstays at the moment, and the finals season 3 kicks off tomorrow. So
yes.
Not quite timely for the stream, but looking forward to trying that out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have that potentially kind of nice coming in hot with those stats. We'll have that certainly ready to go for a future system link. I want to kind of do a review on that as well. Looks like we're getting the sort of the grounded map that we were hoping for. We're hoping something a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
So that's
nice.
Good touch. I wasn't actually. I don't know. Could I have left that? Was I being a bit of a chief there and stealing it?
Oh, we'll find out, won't we? No, he would have saved that.
Hmm.
I've got this.
Yeah, nice. Or going for a special.
Oh.
Ah. Where's the support?
Well, you used to be legendary at those.
Yeah, I
Has to
know.
be said. It's multiple per session you would get of those centre goals.
In the heyday.
Yeah. They nerfed it, I guess. That's what we'll say.
That's what we'll say. I feel comfortable saying. We've never actually addressed that. It's not, the assumption reasonably is that I've gotten shitter with time. But I like the idea of
That's not reasonable, is it? Why would that have happened?
That's fair enough. I think that's good. Oh, they've completely fucked this.
Nice. Those are your bread and butter, aren't they?
That's gonna be a risky bid for them doing a forfeit. I don't think something like that. They haven't obviously, but they I feel like that we've seen that time and again. That something really humiliating has prompted them to just go on.
Yeah, it just shows the class deficit between the teams, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was waiting for that to go in.
Yeah, I was just waiting for that to be a swish. Deficit this. It's a good pass. Ah, yeah. He nudged me a bit. Oh, okay. Oh!
Problematic. Nice.
That took out a little bit sweaty. Sweatier than
I hate those ones. Oh shit, I shouldn't have gone for that. It's my bad.
A bit of a cheeky chapping going for that one. Oh, I've got it round him. I'll run out of boost! Just a flaccid finish. Oh, he's going to get that. No.
I committed again, I shouldn't have done it.
You got this.
That was a very late call, but I luckily I knew.
Delegating, as always, as late as possible. Oh, nearly.
Oh, that was in. That was a great shot.
Yeah, nearly the hat.
Nice.
Wasn't confident in myself there. I just kind of threw my corpse on the pile a bit.
Well, it helps. Those are always good to have two people defending, just in case they get a touch on it.
And easy,
I was backing off, so you going to it was was good.
Easy to mistime that, for sure. I often wildly overcompensate with shots like that, where I just end up going, horribly either too far or underneath it. And then you're just left exposed if you haven't got your back up. Oh. Oh, there we go. That's risky business. Nice. Well done. I'll try and push this.
Good call, I left that.
Oh, I've gone way past that. Open season. Nice, good intercept.
Is that much?
Oh, he's done me. He's done me there. Big Manny, very off topic, but either of you excited for The Boys Season 4? Hell yes. Cannot wait. I'm fully up to date on that show. Watch it every time it drops. Feels like it's been over a year. Must have been at least over a year. They had Gen V in between Season 3 and obviously now Season 4. So, yeah, very excited for that. Another winner for Prime off the back of Fallout as well. They've confirmed as well that Season 5, apologies if I'm the one breaking this to you, but Season 5, not this current season, but next year's season of The Boys will be the last. It was the creator, Eric Kripke's, always his plan. You just had to make sure it kind of reached a certain level of success before confirming that, yes, indeed, 5 seasons, and that show is done. Trying to push this. Yeah.
Nice.
Great cross, by the way. But yeah, can't wait for Season 4 of The Boys. The trailer looked great. The cast are fantastic, and I think it's,
so I'm not familiar with it. Sell it to me.
It's take sort of everything you'd know from like sort of Marvel DC. So it's a superhero show. But it's a superhero show if it was done kind of in the real world. It's a bit more kind of like... It's very dark. It's very egocentric. So like if people with powers actually existed in the real world, they would obviously be like sort of the ultimate version of an influencer. There's a lot of celebrity and politics that go with it. So they've taken a sort of more grounded, realistic take on what it would actually be like if people had abilities in the real world. That's a good touch. It's very graphic, and it's based on the graphic novel, but it's very visually sort of like, you know, very gory, and they don't pull any punches, certainly, with some of the plot lines. It's just it's really well written. There's high stakes, no characters safe, which are elements I think you need in a show like that for it to feel engaging. Oh, great intercept. I wasn't confident I'd get there in time. Big Manny, I know Season 5 is the last. Very sad, but you don't want it to go on forever and get worse. Yeah, which a lot of American shows have a tendency to do, where they sort of, you know, get to Season 26 and it just completely fizzles out. The cast isn't even recognizable anymore. And it just, yeah, it's just overstretched for the sake of advertising revenue. So, excellent. Coming in strong.
Good stuff. 76. Not bad.
And look at my ping as well. My ping's outrageous.
Always going on about your ping.
Every time. But I'm not going on about it as much as Giflar Yogurt Cooler 69. Giflar Yogurt Cooler. Great. Oh, he's fucked it. I should have left that, really. I've done him dirt. Big Manny, I love how they have Vought International social media that posts if it's a real company. Yes, it's Vought is this sort of like almost like the Apple of, like, you imagine Apple had superheroes as a commodity, as a product. They have a fake social media account that sort of does like trailers and advertising with characters in character advertising the show, doing bits and sort of like fake documentary stuff. It's really, really well done. The show extends beyond just the series. They do a lot of stuff on social media. It's also very much a parody of like American politics as well. So they do a lot of stuff about the kind of Make America Great Again stuff, and but in not using that exact phrasing, but it's clearly a parallel to that. Just really, really fun, and like I say, is not shy with showing stuff that's particularly grim. Sorry, that was kind of my fault. I think it was my own goal, but I set you on to failure there. But then you get the overtime theme, so it's worth it.
Yeah.
And my Twitch stream has now been banned.
Because of the epic.
Yeah, because of the epic theme. Yeah, exactly. They're like, you're trying to scrape off us, scraping off some crisp biddies. This is gonna be tough, but I'll go for it. Oh, they fucked this up. They're Flappy doing a little bit here. So am I, though, unfortunately. I sabotaged you.
I should have called it.
Got this through.
My boost. Go on.
Oh. No, they got a touch on it. Trying to fall back. On a boost. Ah! They did really well there. I'm surprised they didn't score that.
Yeah, shit.
We took different perspectives on that. Oh, got some stats.
Getting lucky, aren't they, these guys?
Yeah. Nice, good touch. War of attrition. Getting slapped around left, right, and centre. That's a great cross. Ah. I think I should have pushed that. I don't know why I went for that. That was terrible.
Oh, fuck. Ah!
Got it.
Well done. How was that? Stats there.
Yeah. Just shows you how shit their shot was, though. Didn't even need me to save it. Got it clear of them.
Nice.
Oh! I'll get slapped around. Big Manny, I mean, they did all the home free stuff, and then the whole Donald Trump thing has happened, so it's like real life is satirizing the boys. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's almost like, what's the parody at this point? Yeah, it's so well written and clearly meant to evoke the current political system in the States.
The British politics isn't much better at the moment.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, not much of an improvement, is it? I did love Richie's interview recently with Sky News, where he talked about how, you know, there was plenty of things I had to live without when I was a kid. Sky Sports,
Sky TV, fucking
just
knobhead.
just fantastic. Just the audacity of even saying that and meaning it too. I know he meant it.
Yeah.
Not quite Theresa May's "I'm going to run through a field of wheat," but oh, what's going on?
How did I miss that? Come on.
Yeah, come on, man.
He's making it's like gaff after gaff. It's like the Boris days.
Yeah, which has its own entertainment value, I suppose. Oh, sorry.
I know we don't really want to get sidetracked to politics, but the D-Day thing is just.
Oh.
What are you thinking, man? Come on.
What are you doing? Easy win if you just stuck around. Why'd you duck out for a quick ciggy?
Having David Cameron be in the photo with everyone else is just. Jeez. He'd have been better off not being in it, to be fair. If I was Richie, I'd have been a bit annoyed with David Cameron. But
just wasn't the win that they were thinking it was going to be. We've assembled the Conservative Avengers, and it's like, I don't know whether that's... Had to do a bit of a risky one on that, given the time. Oh, he's got round me.
Yeah.
No, he's done me. Oh!
No boost.
Yeah. They've done well here.
Oh, I fucked it. I needed to score that goal.
It annoys me because that theme is so endearing.
I know. Then we'll never own it.
No, put it back in the store. Take my money. Nintendo, release GameCube games on the Switch. You'll print money directly from my bank account. I'm getting nudged. Like you wouldn't believe.
They're so physical, these guys.
Yeah. Let's get... Oh, it's even the Giflar Yogurt Cooler. 69.
One more?
Yeah, please. One more and then that's a wrap.
Oh, we're back to unranked again, aren't we, as well?
Yeah. We've done 2 now, right? So 1 win, 1 loss.
It doesn't... We always say this. It's like we've had ones where we've lost 10 and it puts us exactly the same rank we were at.
Platinum.
Before.
It's very true. Oh, they fucked it. What's he doing? Trying to use some kind of skill. Well, snooze you lose here, friend. Oh, come on. Where's my shot on goal? Even though it was wide.
I connected and I shouldn't have.
I just want my 10s.
Terrible.
No, it's a good dink, though. That's a good dink. Shouldn't have gone for that. I've done in dirt, though, so there's time. Yeah, nice. Managed to get a quick clearance on this. Oh, I didn't do well there at all.
Good,
just
good
being honest.
I haven't heard from Crazy Frog for a while. Hopefully he's long dead.
Yes, that's not really a reference I need to bring back.
No.
Oh, what am I doing? I just launched myself off a wall. I've never done that before. Wall game, but not the game you want. Ah, Mikey demo tonight.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't say that. I should have just called it. Complimenting you while stealing your shot.
Pretty standard.
Ah.
What am I doing? Come on, I've got to actually jump.
Oh. I can see you going backwards and it alarmed me. Oh dear.
Oh, come on. I was slightly ahead of you.
Oh, check the tape. Look at this. And I completely misread it as well. If I just stayed on the path I was on, we'd be fine. Oh, that's no good. I'm so sorry.
You're not.
The rules. It's just gone out the window, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's gone out the window. Yeah, that's right.
crucial
friend.
there.
Oh god.
Oh fuck.
I got crusty eyes. From all those children I've had to teach. Oh dear. Oh, bleh. Oh, he's...
Okay.
Oh, what's he going? What's he playing at? There we go.
Good shot.
Oh, nearly the double touch.
I'm not there. It's over. Oh, come on, backwards.
Oh, you fuckers. Look forward to see you in bronze. I'll see you in bronze.
Yeah, where I belong.
It's up time.
This is yours.
Is it? Oh god. You're right. Oh, it's a great touch. Trying. Ah. Couldn't quite get the angle. I scored an own goal. Oh, they fucked it. I'll try and push.
Go on.
Surely.
Haha, well done.
Gotta capitalise on those mistakes, friend, if you want to get yourself to plat.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that left, right, and centre. Oh, I've horribly misjudged that. Yep. That's why that happened. That needed a huge clearance, and you delivered. But he also needs a huge follow-up. I fucked it. Oh, I did it! No, I didn't. Celebrated way.
Oh, that's right. You've got a bit of
too
time. Got time. You got time. You got time. Oh shit!
I haven't got any more time left. I squandered my time.
Alright. I realised that
You've got time. You've got
sort
time.
of-
For goodness sake, you've got time. And I panicked
that
as if
sort
I
of
had
intel
no time.
almost puts you under more pressure because you know you're expected to do something like, intelligent with it as
Because
opposed
of
to
the
something
time
under pressure.
you've been given.
Yeah. So you just did what you normally do.
Yeah, and flapped it. That's a great touch.
Oh, that's a dink. Thank you.
I know.
Only because we're streaming it, you left that for me.
That's so true. I don't want any evidence that you could just send me the clip or the gif of it. I don't want anything to come back around. That's so funny. You're only being a good team player because it's public. Oh, hello. Oh, go on.
Oh, Jesus, what an angle.
I don't quite know how I managed that, but good touch. Covering a goal. Try to push this clearance.
You have to push now.
Oh, he's fucked
Go
it.
on. Yes. Well done.
Huge equaliser.
Come back.
I know.
I thought you'd missed this from my angle.
It was closer than I'd like. Glad that was yours because I was having a sip.
Luckily I could see.
That's true. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I didn't call it, to be fair.
Oh, I've cleared it for them. Oh, they've naffed this up.
I'm in there.
Ah, yeah. Oh, that would have been the best little shitty goal. Come on.
Go on.
No.
They're all over the shop.
My shot was so wet, salmon. Is
Yours.
it me? Yeah.
No sipping.
Yeah. Top your hydration. You got some Rocket League to win. Go on.
Oh, I got a touch on it. Scumbag. Good block.
Yeah. good enough.
Crazy Frog's not very good.
I've annoyed him. Backwards goal!
First time for everything.
It would have
Oh,
gone.
where are you?
Oh, knocks off, get boost. Didn't think you needed me. I've JT'd it.
Yeah. I'm in that. Oh.
Oh,
Didn't expect him to get that.
he did well to get that, didn't he?
Yeah, based on their previous ability, I didn't think they were going to... Yeah. Don't like it. Nice
Crazy
dink.
Frog, I think he's decent. Now I've said there, watch him score. Ah! God. Oh.
Touch.
Done him dirt. I mean, Crazy Frog's hanging back in goal. What's he thinking?
Oh, fuck. Double it.
Oh, he's done it.
Oh,
he's...
it. Ah.
He's that 45-degree shot. That's so good.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Ah, fucker.
Yeah. Oh! I was shifted in my chair. I mean, that's going to be good on stream. Just couldn't get the angle. Oh! I did full Klingon noises there to get that over the line. I'll have to try and intercept this. Oh no!
Oh man, we definitely shouldn't lose this.
Risky business.
Well done.
He's
Pressure.
fucked it. I'll try and push.
Yeah, I'm on my way. I'm in that.
Oh, he's got some more game. Oh, they're a bit slow on the uptake on that.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
thought I could have
Couldn't
that.
quite get the angle on it.
Ah!
Oh, I should have announced my plans. Should have done a showcase.
Business update.
It's got round me here.
It's going in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I'm on the roof. I've somehow got out the arena.
could be something.
Yes.
Yes! Hey, well done.
Yes. Great. Hard fought.
fought. Hard fought.
I think it was hard fought. Well, that'll about wrap it up for tonight's System Link stream. So, another really solid episode. I think we've covered a lot there. We'll be uploading the VOD over the weekend, so it'll be up on YouTube if anyone wants to check it out. And we'll be back next week. I'll be doing some Burly Bird Live again on the Monday. I'll be getting back to that. Nice. And then our next System Link on Wednesday at 9 PM as always. So you can check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/BurlyBirdMedia. We have Burly Bird Live on Mondays. I'll be playing something. I never quite know until the Monday itself. I've got to figure out what I'm doing. But then next Wednesday, System Link, we'll be doing our usual podcast and then playing some Still Wakes the Deep on Game Pass. We'll be streaming the first sort of half an hour, 45 minutes or so of that. As always, Mike, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's always
No worries, enjoyed it.
Always a treat. So thanks again, everyone. Cheers, Big Manny, for jumping on again, as always, and we will see you next time.
See you later.